I'm back with Nicolle Wallace. Nicolle, you had former Deputy Director of National Intelligence Sue Gordon on this week's episode of the Best People podcast. I want to take a listen to what she said when you asked her about President Trump's attitude towards intel. Take a listen.
You tell him everything and he doesn't understand the impact of it. And then he shares it disproportionately or doesn't protect it. And again, it's not just the information. It's about the methodology by which you got it and the humans that actually put their lives at stake, whether they are our people or our allies and partners people. I mean, to not understand that and then be casual with it is just breathtakingly reckless in the case of the president. And because he can talk to everyone, because the law allows it, but the reality should preclude it. So in that direction, it's awful. And we see that effect. We see that effect, whether it is allies and partners who are not able to do the things they could for us before because we exposed it by allowing our information to get out there, or in lives that are lost, or in people that won't work with us anymore. And that makes us weaker.
It was incredible to listen to this conversation in this moment when we don't know who, in fact, is the DNI of the United States. What struck you most about your conversation with Sue?
Well, I've known Sue for a few years now, and she's also fighting an equally brave, equally challenging battle for her own health. She's fighting cancer right now. And so her observations are more they're more candid than they've ever been. And so, not that she hasn't always been forthright since she left her post as Deputy Director of National Intelligence in Trump 1.0, but I think the warnings are more dire. And so what she said was that Jay Clayton's inability to say who won the 2020 election was, quote, disqualifying. And this is the most sort of specific she's been in her indictment of why Donald Trump is dangerous when it comes to the men and women who make up the intelligence product, right? The agents and the allies, agents and the people who are on the front line. She calls his handling of intelligence reckless and basically indifferent to their lives. And it all kind of comes back to the first image of his first presidency when he stood in front of the stars, which honor a nameless, many times covert, person inside the CIA who gave their life in service of our country's national security. Here Trump is, 6 years later, still treating intelligence with reckless and careless disregard for the human beings behind it.
I think one of the reasons this conversation felt like balm for the soul is her love of country is so clear. Her commitment to the mission is so clear. There's a great exchange between the two of you where you ask her, well, did you ever think, given how reckless he is, about withholding intelligence? She says, of course not. This is the job. And my job is actually to present hard truths. And as I was watching all the sycophants sitting around today at the cabinet meeting, I wonder who's that person now? Who is it who's sharing the hard truths and, in her words, closing the decision window, right? Actually making it more difficult for those with power to do things that might not be in the best interest of this country.
Well, I think we know, in part from the great reporting from Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan, that the answer is no one, right? I mean, Bibi Netanyahu's in the room as Trump is deciding to take America to war with Iran. Maggie and Jonathan report that everyone that works for Trump is against it. His own top military advisor calls it farcical. The assessment that he's been given by another country's leader. He proceeds anyway. I think the idea that this person, who they also write about with a printer who prints out, there aren't many positive articles about Trump anymore, but I suppose there are positive posts. She prints those out and hands them to him. I mean, you've replaced an architecture which in 1.0 at least resembled structurally something normal. You had a chief of staff, you had people like Sue Gordon, you had Jim Mattis, you had career people inside the Department of Justice. They've all been purged or they've left over their own personal moral ethics and patriotism and loyalty to the Constitution by and large. And what they've been replaced with are people who are carrying out the political project that is Donald Trump's revenge tour and Donald Trump's delusional decision making.
Well, and speaking of those career folks, you spoke with former acting FBI Director Brian Driscoll, who was fired by the Trump administration amid their loyalty purge of the Bureau. Here's what he had to say about Mueller's passing and the current leadership at the FBI.
The comments made after Director Mueller passed away were staggering. And I wrote, like a 1-page letter about Director Mueller that went nowhere. I just kept it for myself because I had to get my thoughts on paper and process that. And I don't have it with me, but he dedicated his life to service. He sacrificed, his family sacrificed so much. And for his passing to be celebrated, and for his character to be challenged even after he passed was, I don't have a word to describe how I feel about that. But it's not a positive one. And as far as the just like very personal criticisms of other directors, that just has not been my experience with any of them. They're public servants. They're good men. And like I said, like everybody might make a mistake, but I don't agree that any of their mistakes led to any catastrophic failure that compromised our mission.
Do you think that the current leadership is making catastrophic mistakes that compromise your mission?
I think some of the behavior that we're seeing it can absolutely lead to a compromising of the mission. Yes.
It echoes a point Sue Gordon made, which is as concerned as she is about the institution, she's really concerned for the American people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know Sue's politics. I think they lean more to the right. I don't know Brian Driscoll's politics at all. I don't even have a guess. But they're alarmed as Americans, and they're alarmed as people who literally stood in the breach, protecting America from everything and everyone that threatens it. And they're the kind of people that Trump is purging from the government.
All right. When we talk about the best people, I would put you on that list. Thank you so much, Nicole, for being with us. You can hear more of Nicole's
and congratulations again.
Thank you. You can hear more of Nicole's conversations with Sue and Brian by downloading the Best People podcast. Watch the full interview with Sue Gordon on YouTube or by scanning the QR code on your screen. Head over to ms.now/thebestpeople.